Obviously, if the group has put a notice in front of a court, I'm prevented from commenting on it. But I'd encourage any Canadian to Google the group in question, do some research on their own, and come to their own conclusions.
That was Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister John Baird responding to the National Council for Canadian Muslims that they will serve the Prime Minister and the Prime Minister's office with a notice of libel unless they apologize for comments that the Prime Minister's Director of Communications made linking them to a terrorist organization. Well, someone who knows a little bit about this organization and this entire issue is Raheel Raza. She is the president of the Council for Muslims Facing Tomorrow. Welcome. Thanks very much for being here.
Thank you.
Let's go back and remind everybody at home why the National Council of Canadian Muslims, not an organization with whom you're affiliated, why they are demanding this apology from the Prime Minister and his Director of Communications. There's a backstory here that we should tell everybody.
And if this wasn't so serious, I would say it's a joke, but it's as close to a joke as it can be. When Harper was leaving for Israel, this organization, NCCM, which is a Muslim organization and obviously has some Arab Muslims as part of it as well, knew that he was going to the Middle East. And do you think that they would have come up with some ideas and suggestions on how to do peacemaking, or maybe how to deal with the Palestinian issue, or talk about things that really matter? No. Like a pack of animals who target the weakest link in the pack, they targeted the rabbi who was going to accompany Harper. And why? Why did they target the rabbi? Because the rabbi had invited Pamela Geller to speak in Toronto, which has nothing to do with the PM's trip to the Middle East.
No, but it's making that connection to sort of paint the Prime Minister and his government in a specific corner. It's race-based politics. We see it every day. We see it happen all the time, Raheel. So
but
now
we need to turn this around.
This
is freedom of speech.
Of course.
There are more than one Muslim organization who at various times have invited hate mongers to come and speak in Canada.
Yeah,
and because of freedom of speech, which they misuse at their own advantage. So this is like an attack that they do when their back is up against a wall, but which brings us to this concept of them trying to say that they were not connected to the CARE organization in the United States. Changing one's name doesn't erase one's history and the background. NCCM today was CARE Can, and the fact that they had association with CARE in America is nothing new. In 2003, their founder and chair at that time, Dr. Shima Khan, actually gave an affidavit in the Ontario Supreme Court, on the Ontario Court, saying that they were associated with CARE America.
That's right. So let's just break this down for everyone. The NCCM was affiliated, is the Canadian chapter of CARE America. CARE America had their charitable status taken away from them because it was found by the U.S. government that they had direct connections to Hamas. And of course, Hamas is a designated terrorist organization in Canada. We've declared them, of course, a terrorist organization. So the Prime Minister's Director of Communications, Jason McDonald, simply said in response to NCCM's concerns about the rabbi, we're not going to take this seriously, an organization that has connections with, terrorist organizations. That's where the thrust of all of this is coming from. Yes. So I deal with libel on a regular basis, being an editor at a newspaper. But so one of the things that, to prove libel, Raheel, is that you have to show that it's a false statement. This is where I believe NCCM is in big trouble.
Well, I would think so. It's so obvious. As I said, this goes back a long time, and there is documentation yay high about their connections to CARE America, who are unindicted co-conspirators in the largest terrorism funding trial in the United States. What does that make them? Ordinary, warm, fluffy people? No. So it's obvious that NCCM decided to change their name because they didn't want to have any association with CARE. But in their own press release, they said we are the same organization. So if they are the same organization, then they obviously have ties, and that ties them to terrorist organizations by connection.
And that, of course, a lot of that information. And here's where I think they've gotten themselves into a little bit of legal haranguing. And that's because all of this information that you're referring to, we have the documentation. Yes. Mr. Baird is quite right. Anybody can Google them and see exactly what the concerns are. Yes. all of this information, if it goes to trial, right now they've just served a notice of libel that they intend to sue if they don't receive their apology. But if it goes to trial, this will come out in discovery. And that's where I think they have found either they're getting bad legal advice or they're hoping that they will use these scare tactics to push the Prime Minister's office into apologizing. Then they can turn around and say, oh, look, you know, we're not going to, the words they use, we're not going to let these comments stand. And there's a number of other Muslim organizations that are saying, oh, you know, it's the horrible Prime Minister and his office there. It's a pall upon all of our houses. I mean, how do you respond to that?
Well, I say it's totally senseless and people are not doing their homework. You know, this is where political correctness comes in, and this is where we have the warm, fuzzy feelings. Come on, excuse me, this is Canada. We are living in a time when we have to be very aware of who are our friends and enemies.
That's right.
And when we have organizations that have links with terrorists in any way, they are not friends of Canada. And we have to stand up and speak out. And who else to speak out than another Muslim organization? Are they going to sue me as well? Well, go ahead. You know, I'd say go ahead, because they're lying through their teeth. The connections and the documentation is all there.
Yeah.
I'm not a legal expert, but even as an ordinary Canadian citizen, I can see that they have these connections and that they're lying through their teeth. And not only with this one Care America organization, but by default it goes on and on and on with Hamas and others. So what are they going to do? They're going to keep on lying? How are they going to prove this?
That's right.
Yes. So it's extremely senseless that they're asking for an apology. Well, they should be the ones who should offer an apology for having taken such a stupid step.
That's right. They'll watch this interview with you and I, and you let us know if they serve you or I with a notice of libel. We would love to have you back.
If they do. Yes.
We'd love to have you back about that. Thanks very much. Rahil Raza is the president of the Council for Muslims Facing Tomorrow.